Recording in progress.
Okay. All right. I see about 55 participants, and I know for sure a lot of teachers will also be joining. Yesterday, we had about, I think, more than 100 teachers joining us. So, welcome everyone. Welcome to day two of the Sustainability Bootcamp. I hope the ones who were there yesterday are also there. It's still a good sign if new teachers have joined today who were not there yesterday. But just want to check how many of you were there yesterday. So in case I'm gonna discuss anything, any examples from yesterday, I do see some names, but yeah, in case we talk about things that we discussed yesterday, it'd be nice to just have a recap, and take some examples again, connecting from yesterday and today. Oh, good. Yes, I see some names that are familiar from yesterday, especially the ones who were also sharing their thoughts during the group discussion. Wonderful, great. So I hope you felt like it was a good start yesterday, and we'll try to also keep up the same momentum today as well. And so today we're going to have or move on to the next topic, which is sustainability or sustainable technology in the classrooms, and not necessarily only confined to classrooms. It just means that in the field of education overall, a classroom is any place where you're learning in a way, if you see it, right? It's not necessarily just that literal room where you're teaching a subject. This itself, like right now, is like a classroom. And yesterday, if you remember, I said we're doing a role play where all of you are teachers. Sorry, I am the teacher and all of you are students. But in the process, I became a student to listening to your wonderful initiatives that I learned that you guys, all of you do in your schools. So that was quite inspiring. And yeah, having said that, let us all remember that you are students and you need to be open minded to understand, to ask, to perceive. And at the same time, just like you would want your students to pay attention and be committed to the entire class, I request all of you also to stay till the end and not join and keep your videos on and do whatever you want, but actually be there. Ideally, it'll be nice if you all have your videos on. So I do request and remind you all to keep your video on, have your coffee, whatever it is, get comfortable. That's completely fine. Um, but yeah, do join here. Thank you. Appreciate Mr. Bazi, Sandhya, and everyone. Thanks for giving me company. And it looks good in the recording as well to see some faces, right? All right. So, with that brief context of what we have today, I will move on. Uh, and before I actually further dig into the topic, just want to give you a context that the topics that we'll be discussing today might seem a little complicated in one area. Uh, I won't tell you what it is right now, but eventually you might see that. So I do need your concentration, but I will do my best to kind of condense it for you in an interesting way and a simplified way. That's what we'll focus in the second half. In the first half, we're going to talk about something generic that all of you might be able to know and contribute. So that's not a problem. But we have resources from different areas. As in, not everything is going to be on this presentation, but we have different links and resources that I will be redirecting and showing it from there directly. So you know what is actually available and accessible that all of you can actually utilize and maybe going forward use it for your students. All right. And there is a last question and answer round, if necessary, in the end, where you could ask any queries related to the topics we've learned, we could be learning, and in general overall. So this time we can spend some time in that area as well. And yes, lastly, there are home assignments, as I mentioned yesterday. We'll be combining yesterday's and today's home assignment, and I will tell you what to be doing clearly, so not to worry. And yes. In the end, we'll talk about the assignment, and only on submitting the assignment, you'll be receiving a certificate. So please be mindful and please stick around throughout the whole session. All right. Uh, okay. So with that, welcome again. Today we have our day two, sustainable technology in the classrooms. All right. So with that, I just want to do a very quick, short recap on yesterday within a minute. But we discussed about current practices. We had a group discussion on what are some initiatives that schools or institutions can do to promote sustainability. And all of you shared some brilliant but realistic ideas that you all are executing in your schools with whatever challenges you're facing, right? And we also saw a video on about an initiative called Plastic Bank and how it is helping them. We learned about the ill effects and how is actually plastic polluting the oceans and the land around us. So there were a lot of things that we learned initially, and but I have a question because I'm coming backwards. The reason being, in the beginning, we learned about the basics of sustainability, and then there was something called dash dash concept, and it had three things. So I would like, again, your students, I would like students to answer today of what is that called and what are the three things we saw. Would anyone like to share? Let me
Economic
check.
factors, social factors, and environmental factors.
Perfect, Ms. Jaya. And what is it called? There is a name to that on the top of the slide, if you remember.
We
Triple
talked
bottom
about
Triple
concept.
bottom
sustainability.
Bottom concept.
Triple bottom concept.
Right, right. Absolutely. It's called the triple bottom concept, which is environmental, social, and economical. Um, and environmental should come first, however, but all the others also need to be fulfilled was the main learning. And we've also applied that individually in the field of education too, apart from talking about it generally. Right. And then homework, like I said, we'll talk in the end. Okay. So today, since it's about tech and sustainability, I'm not sure how many are excited about technology and how many are open and neutral about it, and how many are not interested in tech and very like how do I say tech handicapped or very away from tech. And but I like I said, I hope this session is still for everyone, regardless of whether you're interested in tech or not. So we're combining sustainability and technology and talking about it today. But the mediator or the common denominator today in both needs to be education because that's what we're here for, right? How do we do this in the field of education? So now I would like for you to share any examples that you have seen like that. Looks like Shobana in the chat means that she's 100% interested in tech. If that's what I understand, that's great. But any examples combining all these three areas that you have seen or that your school follows many chance or that you have seen any initiatives? Yesterday, we saw some current school practices in institutions and classes, right? Like the Atal Lab, and then that school in Thailand that had the entire green infrastructure, green schools, eco clubs. Uh, so today, any such examples that you have seen or read about or actually do, combining these three areas? Tech that is in the field of education, which is sustainable. I would like to know if there are examples. You can add it in the chat. Thanks, Madhu. You can also unmute and speak too. Okay, yeah, a STEM lab, absolutely. That's technical, it's also sustainable and learning, and it's for education. Yes. Anyone else?
AI is contributing a lot for sustainability. Like we have smart houses, IoT, where it is enabling you to switch off your devices if you're not at home, which helps in energy conservation.
Right. Yeah. A simple but an important step that has been introduced. Yes. Green
And
schools
actually, in our
at the
STEM
lab.
lab, we have introduced,
Yeah.
we are working for the sustainability development. And each team, like 5 members, have been given the theme also, like good health and well-being. Then in that, they'll be selecting like environment, polluting the environment due to vehicles, it might be, or like we have a innovative dustbin where it will overflow, means it will give the beeps and all. Like such many projects we have already, like we are working with that. And I am a part of that STEM
Nice.
lab. So like we are working for.
Got it. Interesting. That's I mean, I've heard such about such in smart dustbins, but a school actually trying to adopt that is nice. Okay. I see some examples in the chat too. Social security and safety can be monitored by using technology. Yes. Good suggestions or good examples. Last, anyone else? One more?
And one more thing I wanted to share with you, ma'am. Eco Freaks, as I told yesterday, we have the team where they created the scratch project, like Eco Freak, just for smaller kids to make aware of environment and all. So we created small videos. The children have created the small videos, and among 42 group schools, we got the second place in that, like coding. Using the
Got
coding
it.
technology,
Yeah.
we work for the sustainability of environment.
Wonderful, wonderful. Yeah, do share any links or things like that, good achievements like this. Let's inspire everyone else too. If you have any resources for your school that could help other teachers, feel free to share. In the end, we're all here for the same reason and the same intention. So good job and congratulations. And I'm sure there are other examples too. So the reason why I brought this up is just to see where you're lying in terms of the examples you're giving.
Sorry.
Looks like, yes,
Can
Miss
I
Harini.
add?
Your voice is breaking, Miss Harini.
Yeah. Hi.
Yeah,
See, this is
now
not
it's better.
you're able to hear me now? Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
I would like to slightly, take this in a different perspective. See, sustainability when it comes to education, you asked what kind of initiatives are we taking? Clubbing it with technology, right? So our curriculum basically, when a child, our school is all about inclusivity. So if a child is
Mhm.
not, having issues with writing, we go for digital, answers. Like the child can write answers in the laptop rather than having a scribe. I would feel that it still serves is a very sustainable
Yeah,
option, as well as it makes the child also feel equipped and included. The child will
right,
never feel that the kid is having a shortcoming, because I feel it is worth mentioning, because how technology helps in maintaining a sustainable environment is what I think.
right,
I
right.
hope
In
I
fact,
didn't
no,
derail
thanks for
too
sharing
much from the
this.
topic.
No, I was about to say that we'll close with that example, and if there are any further examples, you can add in the chat. I think Suniti has also shared one, and Sujata. So while you're reading that, I'd just like to acknowledge what Harini had shared, because we think about sustainability only when it comes to environment. It's natural. We think about sustainability in different areas, especially in the field of education, is also about the students' well-being in terms of how we can enhance their learning experience, right? And ability is a very important concept or a necessity when it comes to the students. So for the disabled students, or not necessarily disabled, but children with special needs or whatever they would require support with, that's a very good factor. And technology has immense potential to support students in that area in the field of education, right? And that is one example that Ms. Harini had shared that can get overlooked of how we can actually utilize technology for a better learning experience, especially for the special needed children, special needs care children. So yeah. All right. So thanks for warming us up with the examples. So yesterday we did the group discussion midway after talking about the triple bottom concept and all of that. But today we will start off with the group discussion and the reason why, which I'll be telling you eventually. So here's what we're going to discuss. And it's also, I think it's only fair that we also call this discussion a debate, because as you can see in the question, the first part talks about discussing the role of educational technologies like maybe virtual labs or digital carbon footprint calculators. See, these are just two examples, but you can share examples of how this is helping, but it'll also be more interesting to see if any teachers think about the second point on slide, which is, are there any downsides to using tech-heavy solutions for sustainability education? Right? Let's say in e-waste, like we were talking about smart bins and we were talking about resource use. Back in the day, I'm pretty sure, I know maybe age-wise, most likely everyone's older than me, but at least in one area, we all feel that, as things are advancing, we're also losing its beauty, losing its natural essence, right? And at the same time, there's a lot of e-waste produced because of our depending on technology. And instead of depending on natural resources, we're kind of creating things artificial. I'm just saying one perspective of seeing it. So in that case, how many of you feel that tech-heavy solutions have its own downsides? What could they be, and how would you find that balance? Are we losing that human connection while also introducing tech in schools in certain areas? Because we all went to school. Yes, we do feel that, oh, this initiatives that we see now, I wish we had them in school. Like yesterday, when someone was doing some teachers were sharing some examples and how they're adopting sustainable methods. I felt like I wish my school did that. But but we all grew up without much technology. We didn't even have phones, right, when we were in school. But we were still fine. Today we're fine. We do have that empathy, and we're doing quite well in life, I feel. But again, we have to see how this generation is going to grow up to be. So, where do you find the balance? What is your opinion, and any examples that you would like to take? So, I will keep it open, and all of you can just unmute and share. Is everyone contemplating if I should be on this side or that side of technology?
No, actually, can I talk to him? Yeah, am I able to?
Yes.
So actually, like what I see is during the COVID, this student community has got like exposed to gaming, and
Yeah.
actually the violent nature in the student has risen up, and it has led to a drastic change in the behavioral approach of the students, which is like a
Yeah.
downside of technology I can see. And there, like one more important thing that I have seen is like the uh, time where they can concentrate, that actually their time span has come down. So they
Yes.
are judging the people like it's in it, like they judge the reels within 1 minute. They can't like concentrate more
The
than
attention. Yes.
20
Yes.
minutes. Attention span has come down totally. So this is a serious downfall of the technology, downside of a technology that we have to
True.
face right now as a teacher.
Yes, sir. I agree with you absolutely. And I think this,
I would
even
like
if we're supportive of tech, this is a problem that we will face. But yes, yes, ma'am, go ahead.
I would like to add to Ramit sir, this addiction, it's become addictive after the COVID with the
Yeah,
technology, with this, it's become very addictive. And now children, we teachers also, if you can think about the teachers always on WhatsApp with the parent giving us messages at
yeah,
12 o'clock at night, and we have to answer to them, cater to them, and 10 o'clock at night we have to cater to those answers, because and the messages to
yeah,
be sent, immediate messages to be sent, though it's been told that not to send any messages after 5 o'clock or after a certain period of time. But what parents, when you are the class teacher and you have a group of students with you, it really becomes difficult not to answer. When we don't answer, that becomes a difficult portion for them, and it's for something there are, and children have become very a very introvert extrovert, and their emotions have changed, ma'am, totally emotion. They are so emotional, become so emotional, over exhausted, and they react to small things so much after the COVID. Basically, their reactions are like something like, for smaller things they become so emotional about everything, that why this so happening. They're not taking things uh, in a very normal manner.
right,
That normalization is not there. People, and this, of course, cyberbullying, stalking is also there with that. There, it is already come up. It's in a huge. It's coming up like 75% and all these things when they are attached, when the children are not aware how much to
right,
use. That is there. Of course, when we are talking about technology, I
yeah,
myself is a IT teacher, of course, so I would not be saying negative about it, but these have happened. In our times when we did not have, as you said, in our times when we did not have our phones, we were much more that emotional quotient was better with us than these children. They become vulnerable so easily.
I
That
agree with
vulnerability
her,
is
but I would
yes,
like to add on that technology is good, but excess of everything is bad.
absolutely.
That is what is creating a problem nowadays.
Anything in
And
moderation is
because of this excess, mass production is also happening. Every day
Absolutely.
a new version is coming. So the lot of electronic waste is getting cumulative, and it is just they are using it and just keeping it on one side. So that is
right.
actually again becoming a problem for sustainability. So if it is in controlled use, yeah, we all are in favor of it. So this is what I would like to add.
So where is that
No,
line
agree,
of
ma'am.
control?
Yes.
Where is
That
that
I would
we have
like
line? Where
to
to
that we
stop?
have to decide, ma'am. And the
That is
ma'am, we
what.
have to guide us. That is our role, where our role as educators come. We have to guide our students, and we have to guide our peers also. I think the onus lies on us.
Uh,
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
the ownership
I
definitely
mean,
lies with
I
us.
would like to add
yeah.
to the downside of part of it. See, we all I agree with all my pals here who spoke like how it creates distraction, how no patience level has come down. I would like to point out one important thing is that only, I think only 50 to 60% of world is has access to technology. What about the students? What about the children who do not have access to these, digital,
True.
meet, digital classroom? So what happens
Yeah.
is that we easily tend to forget these children. They are actually, they are in limbo, I would say, in the sense, they are hanging in limbo because, they're neither in our era, nor they're able to catch up with this era's technology thing. So they are lost.
Interesting. Yeah.
We should be mindful, and we should also think about those children. And that technology, it is not a very, very cheap affair. It's a very costly affair. And it requires a lot more things like, network issues are there, and the equipment is costly,
Yeah.
and you need somebody who knows to operate it. So all these factors, makes it inaccessible to almost 30 to 40 percentage of children. So I
Yeah.
feel that yes, it is, but it is like, like owning a car. It's possible only for middle class or upper middle class. It's not very
Right.
economical
I
friendly thing. As long as it is available for everyone, I would say it is always in the downside.
interesting. I actually
I
didn't
like to add
expect
that even though
uh
we are
so far that we'll be, I kind of thought so that we'll be ending up more on the downsides of it because like as like one of the ma'ams had shared that anything in moderation is good. That is the biggest key in anything, right? But now because it's not in moderation, unfortunately their downsides are more reflecting. But yes, please continue if anyone else would like to share.
And yeah, one more point I
I like
wanted to
to add
share:
that.
the authenticity of the information. When we used to see, there is nothing wrong in them having access to a wide range of information. That is not the problem. But when we had book in our hand, we knew who the publication, I mean, which publication it came from, and we knew who wrote it. So our parents had an idea, like whoever gave the
Yeah.
librarian or wherever we took the book from, we knew where it came from. But when it comes to digital information, the children do not know whether the information is authentic, or they do
Yeah.
not know from where or which website, or from which part of the world the information is coming. This is a very, 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 a serious issue is what I believe.
Absolutely, I like to add that replacing a
Yeah.
textbook is a great challenge. None of us
This
want to be behind, right? So the parents are striving to give all sort of the comforts as well as the all the smart devices. Even it's difficult for the socio-economically background students, as we were also speaking of the lack of resources, right? Even those families are also
Ma'am, I
striving.
would like to say one thing. We cannot do without technology now because we are totally engrossed into it. Can we avoid it? No. Everybody wants the solution at a click of a button. So the only thing
unfortunately, yeah.
is, we should find ways how we can use it in a controlled manner. I am again saying the same thing. Our students should know their ethical rights, or the developers should know their ethical rights, and that is how they can make change for the society. We have to make the difference to the society when or sustainability issues. We have to take care
Right.
of it. But we
Yes,
cannot
yep,
do
yep.
without
I would like
technology
to
Advantages
at
and
this stage. We
correct,
can't
disadvantages.
correct.
even
Agree
think of
with
a
you.
moment. Yeah.
Yes, yes, yes.
I
Advantages
agree
and
with you. It's a
disadvantages.
necessary evil.
But when face-to-face interaction is being reduced, that's the problem there. As ma'am
Ma'am, I
also
would
said,
like to, right,
True.
right. Ma'am, I would like to add to this where,
Yeah, yeah, go
technology
ahead.
can be considered as agriculture. Like
Yeah.
agriculture was for that, the Stone Age era, technology is for our era. When agriculture started, people had the same fear what we have for technology. It's destroying the forest, and we have lost our touch with the, the conventional way of plucking the fruits and having, going and hunting. When agriculture started, everyone had the same fear what we have for technology. But as you can understand now, we have come through, when the evolution has put us in a position where we are able to understand where we stand when we go for this agriculture, and what's how much
Yeah.
deforestation it has created and how to bring it back. So as I feel like, we are actually in the stone age of agriculture, like stone age of technology now. So now, of course, whatever we say, we will end up saying that anyway it has caused the deforestation. But then as we go, further years, what the balance that we have now for agriculture and
Yeah.
forest, I think we will end up there, is what I believe.
True. I mean, it's very, unpredictable of how this is going to end up, like, because it can go in any tangent, right? But wonderful. I enjoyed listening to all. I had some opinions and thoughts too, which are very similar, which I agree with all of you a lot. But I just wanted to sit back and listen because you are more experienced there, actually in the field, seeing how students are evolving, how is the field of education evolving as teachers, right? So you would have a better share. At the same time, I've also noticed that some of them have shared in the chat. I hope everyone's reading. Uh, yes, there, so we are. But we just wanted to see what teachers are thinking about because sometimes it's always about listening, but in sessions it's good to talk about how teachers feel also. And as long as we are completing it in time and delivering what's necessary for today, I think it is okay to have certain time for a group discussion. And also, a lot of people had a lot of shares, so I thought let's give that space for them to express themselves. All right. So the next topic that we have for today is, if you had a small glimpse in the previous in the slide that I just happened to share, which is on energy. So the reason why we're jumping directly to energy here is because uh, it's not that energy is the most important one in terms of when it comes to technology and sustainability. But like just how we spoke about plastic yesterday as an example in one area, and then studying about it, looking at the solution, and then applying it to probably any other problem in the world globally. We're looking at energy as an example when it comes to tech. Right? We can talk about waste management, which also in a way has to do with energy. Yes, we can talk about AI, which we will be in a way in a bit. But I think energy is one area which covers or overlaps with a lot of areas in our daily life that we use, right? And in fact, without energy or without electricity and sources of energy, there is no technology, right? So if you go back, this is one major area that is concerning, at the same time benefiting as well. So that's why we'll deep dive a little into this. Um, so let's go back to our geography or social classes where we learned about energy back then when we were in school, right? How there is solar. So the basics are how there is renewable and non-renewable energy. I'm not here to teach you about the source of energy, but while I just touch a little on it, we'll see how much you understand energy. But even if it's a reflection, it is fine. I can understand how well versed you are in a lot of areas from yesterday and today. But it's important in the end to still know what are the renewable sources of energy. And our intention is not to just teach you or to inform or educate you, but also talk about solutions and initiatives that we should be doing. It's easy to understand and learn, but it's difficult to actually actionize, right? So yeah. So on the right side, we have some renewable energy sources: wind, geothermal, biofuel energy, solar energy, and hydropower energy. And I have an interesting fact also, as you can see in the bottom of the slide, where hydroelectric power is one of the oldest sources of electricity generation, the source that we all depend on. Ever since I know electricity existed for all of us, that is there, and that is how we all grow up to, and it will most likely continue. But one good sign is also that a lot of units or institutions are also adopting the solar, and there's a lot of debate about solar because if you apply the triple bottom concept of environmental, yes, it ticks off. Does it tick off social and economical? Not so much, is what people debate about. Where they say it's expensive. They say not every. We spoke about the social class where can everyone have access to it, right? So that is interesting. There are some official points to be shared with data about how solar energy does tick off all the three, where it does fulfill social, environmental, and economical also. So it's no longer in that situation where, oh, solar energy is not helpful. As in, yes, it does save the environment, but we'll also see how it touches a little on the economical and environmental aspect. But on the right side, there's a reason why we put it, because whenever we ask what are some sources of energy, very few people say, you know, all this that they have other things like they say wind, water, but not everyone knows or not everyone mentions the other lists or the sources of energy, right? And I'm pretty sure we also know what is non-renewable energy, like fossil fuels. They're not at all environmentally sustaining. Unfortunately, we depend a lot on petrol and gas, which is not sustaining at all in all three factors. Yes, it is easily available economically, but it is not, and socially it is accessible. But when it comes to environmental, it is a huge no. So sometimes that balance is there. Social and economical, it is good, but environmental, it's so bad that even if it is social and economical not good, it is okay to reduce the environmental because it is that bad. So that's why the triple bottom concept is very amazing to kind of think and apply different areas. So with that, I have a small quiz simultaneously while we're discussing about uh, different topics under energy. But the first question here is, which energy source releases the most climate altering carbon pollution? So any guesses? We'll just name it as 1, 2, 3, 4, and you can just pick which option do you think is the answer. Okay, cool. Okay.
Oil.
Yes, everybody has answered right. It is coal. On the right side, here and there, you will see some pop-ups which will have some either interesting information or an activity for you to find out. So on the right, if you see, I want you all to find out. I'm sure anybody can use ChatGPT or Google simultaneously also, but find out which is India's first solar-powered island and how are they using solar energy there? How do they get electricity at night? And make a note of all the points discussed, right? This is an activity given to students, but since you're all students, it's just an interesting search for you to try and educate about. If anybody has gotten the answer, in general, you can share it in the chat. So next question. Which of the following are negative impacts of burning fossil fuels? So this is our sentences. You can just type in 1, 2, 3, 4 in the chat. Environmental degradation, pollution, harm local communities, contribute to human health problems, all of the above. So what do you think? Yeah, whenever there is an all of the above, the smartest answer is all of the above, right?
All the
But in a way,
above.
yeah, in a way, yes, it is all of the above. And we were just talking about the ill effects of the negative impacts of fossil fuels. And yes, these are all the things it does. So even if it is economically viable and socially accessible, there needs to be something done about it. But imagine billions of us depend on fossil fuels for everyday commuting and all of that. So what do we do about it is a huge question, right? So now coming back to solar panels, you know the basics of how they work, but the question is, where do they work well? In sunny states, in cloudy states, or cold states, or all of the above? This could be tricky if you pick all of the above, just saying, but what do you think? Or only sunny? There are places that are cloudy and cold too, right? So do you think solar doesn't work there? Okay, I'm putting you all on the spot, but the right answer is all of the above, actually. It has nothing to do with if the clouds are blocking the sun or if the temperature is very low where it's cold. Sun is everywhere. That is the basic that we all know. So just because, like, let's say India is close to the equator and it's very hot, or in Africa it's very hot, so solar power flourishes there. No, it's not like that. Every place has access to the sun. Yes, there are places up north that do not have apparently access to sun for like few days, weeks together if you actually look it up. That's a different case scenario. But as long as they get sunlight, regardless of the temperature or the clouds or the weather conditions, solar powers do work. And here's another fun fact. Uh, Kerala Cochin Airport is the first in the world that runs fully on solar power. So today, while we were working on the content to see, apart from just questions, how do we also give information? I thought this is interesting to see. And yesterday, I also noticed some from Kerala sharing it in the chat. So I thought it'll be nice and a good appreciation to share. Um, so
Ma'am,
here,
that parking slot is completely on the roof with solar panels.
Acha, okay. I know I'll have some inputs here because I noticed yesterday that some of you are from Kerala. But yeah, I thought it'll be good to bring it up at least. So that was intention to see and notice. So here, since we're talking about energy and combining all of that, the point to underline is it's easy to talk about sources of energy, but let us focus on the other side of it where we're acting on that and actually utilizing it and making it resourceful, right? So here is this very nice video. I don't know if anybody watched it earlier by any chance, but this is a nice village that is actually adopting different sources of energy. It'll be nice for you to observe and see if your schools and your places can do something like this as a community together. And I'll just play it. You can sit back and listen.
So you think you know Wix, but do you really? First up, we've got Shake Video Mask.
When you think of villages in India,
hope you
what
can
do you
hear the
think of?
video.
You think of huts, you think of simple living, but I am in a village today in Tamil Nadu that has changed my view and given it a 180-degree spin. Welcome to the model village of Odantharai. In a world where hashtag Go Green and hashtag renewable energy are trending, India is leading the way in turning these to practicality. And the Odantharai village is showing the light, literally. In 2006, Odantharai Village Panchayat became the first local body in the country to build its own 350 kilowatt windmill. Odantharai is a total influencer. And the windmill isn't the only reason we use the word Super Panchayat. You know, all these houses that look identical, they are actually greenhouses. They are houses that use renewable energy. I'm thinking maybe I should get a solar panel on my hat too. That way I can charge my phone that always dies.
See, Odantharai village is very uniquely placed and a unique example. What I call it, it is a pure democratization of power, where the power is owned by the people, for the people and to the people. It changes life of a person or a household. You become independent.
Like all Bollywood movies, our story too has a hero. Everybody, please meet Mr. Shanmugam. Sir, I want to know what this village was like before you came here, before you made it into this beautiful model village.
96 before the village is zero development.
Okay.
No drinking water, no roads, no drainage, no house.
Now what is this village?
These are all basic facilities 100%. Housing, roads, drainage, drinking water, and bacteria-free drinking water.
And solar village.
Solar village.
But bringing about change is one thing, and maintaining a course and always improving is another. How did the village manage to do that? Let's ask the current president of the Super Panchayat.
அதாவது ஈகோ ஃப்ரெண்ட்லி வில்லேஜ்னு சொன்னாவே மொத்தத்தில் வர்ற திட்டங்களை வந்து முறையாக செயல்படுத்தி இருக்கிறதுனால தான் ஈகோ ஃப்ரெண்ட் வில்லேஜ் வருது. அதாவது சிறந்த வில்லேஜுங்கிற ஒரு உதாரணத்துக்கு வேணும்னு சொன்னால் எல்லா திட்டங்களையும் இப்போ ராஜீவ்காந்தி தேசிய குடிநீர் திட்டம் அது செயல்படுத்தி இருக்கு, அது முழுமையாக செயல்படுத்தி இருக்கோம்.
What an idea, Sirji. Simply by utilizing the government schemes, the village went from zero to hero. While 1/6 of the world's rural populations still doesn't have access to electricity, the Odantarai village has really cracked it. And the results of all these efforts can be seen on the faces of the residents of Odantarai. College professors, IAS officers, foreign delegates have been coming here to this village to study this administration. So many people are in awe of this model village. It happens only in India!
Well, yes, I think that's a good model village, right? That we all can see where different factors in the community are coming together to work well and actually. And I love how this kind of fulfills the triple water concept, right? You can see how socially everyone's involved. Economically, it is accessible, viable, easy to execute within their capacity, and nothing like how it's fulfilling environmental aspect in that village, right? So I thought it's a nice video that covers all the three that we use in a lot of sessions that we take. And yes, I definitely share this link for all of you. In fact, you can also later type in and see the first village to have a three. That's the title of the video. And I think it's with the series. It happens only in India. I'm pretty sure you'll find other sources of videos like that too. So having shown a real case example of not just a school or not just a building or a hospital, but the entire village, in a way, the advantage of a village is everybody's cohesive. But when it comes to the urban population, people are very diverse. So it's not easy to convince everyone to come out of their comfort zone. That is also a problem. But in the end, it is what it is. Good needs to be appreciated, right? So now if you move on to the side where you need to act on energy on the whole, you don't need a system. You don't need when I say system, like an administrative system, like the municipality or the governing bodies. Yes, you either can partner with them and do a lot of changes in the energy sources, or just by being you, being me, we all can make changes and contribute to the right energy sources, right? But I shouldn't have shown this slide. I wanted to ask actually, but I think I can still ask because it might not reflect completely. Can someone very nicely tell us the difference between efficiency and conservation? It's two different words with the same intention, but it actually means two different things. How would you differentiate efficiency and how would you differentiate conserving?
Good evening, ma'am.
Yeah.
Yeah, ma'am. Basically, conservation is how do you protect a particular resource by not wasting it so that the future generation or we ourselves use it for a fruitful way. Efficiency is the way how you meticulously use that resource so that we make the best out of it. This is my thought.
No, absolutely agree. I don't think I need further examples, and I'll definitely acknowledge what Mr. Rehmat has also shared in a simple way, but a very correct way.
Thank you, ma'am.
Both of you had, it's nice how both are rhyming the names, but let's start with conservation where you don't even use. If I had, like, remember that sustainability concept to a 10-year-old yesterday that we saw? If you had to explain it in a most simple way, not at all using in a way, first of all, ideally, you should not be using any resources that way. I'm not saying live like early men, but the lesser you use, the more it conserves. Simple. So just use less. But if you're using it anyway, use what is efficient. Efficient for the environment, efficient for your money, for your pocket, and efficiency in terms of how many people or how are they accessing, right? So a simple example, like thank you, Ms. Shireen and others, Uma, who are sharing it. Yes, if you're conserving something, just turn off the light when you don't need it. If you have sunlight, depend on sunlight, conserve energy. But if you're using light anyway, maybe use LED lights, right? And since we constantly use it, it is okay to conserve energy that way also. So when you use an LED light, it's conserving it. It is also making the entire, like if you see the triple bottom condom, it's making the whole thing efficient, right? It's going to affect less on your pocket. So on the right side, if you see some examples and areas of how you can conserve and you use energy efficiently, turning off your refrigerator temperature down in a way does conserve energy because it keeps things lowering the temperature will keep things more cold, and it'll just conserve a lot of things and do its job. But if you since we use it, our refrigerator is on like almost 365 days, right, at home. So make sure that you're using an energy efficient refrigerator when buying. Don't buy something only because it's affordable. Good, of course, affordability is very important, the most important. But also just as teachers and educators, put some effort to see if you're buying something that is energy efficient, right? LED lights. But using minimal means conservation and so on. I don't think now I know you know this concept, but some of you must have understood it further also with certain examples, right? And dishwasher and all is for other kind of country scenarios. But these are just some examples of how we could use it. In simple, ideally, the best way to learn, although we know it is, use anything less and in moderation. But if you're using it, use something that is efficient. And that's a simple logic, not only in energy, but in a lot of areas, right? But there's another concept which is called energy auditing and management. Now we learned about a little about just what kind of sources of energy are, what should you be doing, being efficient and conserving. And now if you apply it from an individual, as an individual, you need to be efficient and conserve. But if you move it to the system, what is your school doing? Or what is your workplace doing? Or what is your institution doing? What is my office 1 be doing? We all need to be focusing on energy auditing and management, right? It's not easy, but yes, you can be efficient and conserve. But who is stepping up and actually working into the system? Who is stepping up and actually making sure if your school is doing that, if your maybe your village is doing that, or your community is doing that, or your family is doing that at your home, right? So that is something called energy auditing and management, where you're assessing the patterns over, like, let's say you're doing regular energy checks and auditing, like how much energy or units is our school producing in 3 months. Okay, they have summer vacation. Obviously, the energy is going to be used less. And then at this time of the year, there are more annual days and functions, so it's more. So then how do we do that? At which point of time can we conserve energy where it is balanced through the year? Is your school actually doing that? Are you doing that for your family? Or, when I say family, your own house. If you're a family of four, let's say, which is a common number in India, we just pay the current bill and we get shocked like, oh my god, this in summer it came a lot because we depend on maybe other sources like AC and things like that. Then in that case, what are some measures that you are observing, right? So auditing is nothing but collecting data and seeing if there's a pattern and seeing how you can improve. And a lot of organizations and businesses should be doing this. Some do, but it'll be nice if you're going back and checking with your school or your class or your own personal homes if you're doing this. And then management is about discussing ways where you're having some energy saving measures and tracking progress over time. Okay, how about we introduce this concept, and is this working? Then audit again and check, right? So that's why I'm saying it's escalated. You're learning energy, you're trying to be efficient and conserving as an individual, but as educators and change makers, go to that other step and involve in energy auditing and management, and that will be good for your homes, for your schools, for your workplaces. It's a discussion. I'll just mute.
Rima, just unmute yourself and continue, please.
Yeah, thanks, Aarti. All right, so I hope that was clear about energy so far. But yes, the message is save energy. 'Cause that's all very important for us. Now, that was one area that we looked at when it comes to tech and sustainability, right? That I was sharing. But we'll move on to the next area in the later half of this session. We will finish on time just like yesterday, not to worry at all. So, and I'll save the last part if at all, if there are any questions. But here I thought at this stage, since we're talking about technology, sustainability, and education, we're just using three examples where there are digital platforms available. ePathshala is one by NCRT. The WWF India has this source called One Planet Academy. In fact, I have the picture as well. Digital Green is another source. Actually, Digital Green, if you go through it, is pretty interesting because at a glance, at first, the website, you might not feel that it is for educators or for the field of education. It does a brilliant job when it comes to rural communities, but it also has some content that will help teachers and students learn about sustainable farming, water conservation, and climate smart agriculture, things like that, which are very much needed for students at this point of time, since they need to be balancing both tech world and the real world, right? Unfortunately, or not. So, and then WWF also has some good resources that all of you could have some lesson plans, activity guides, and quizzes. Now, WWF World Wildlife Fund is something that we've all learned or know about it growing up, right? So it might be exciting because it has the flora and fauna of the animals, and that's a nice, interesting, attractive way to talk about wildlife. But at the same time, it has the content just there, free, accessible to all of you. So these are some digital platforms, just examples of them. And me, I'm sure you would have many others too that you're probably using in your school if it is viable to be actually introducing. But at least back end, these are some examples of sources that you could focus on that are just there, accessible to anyone, where you could use it in your school, right? So we've seen about energy in under tech and sustainability. We've seen about some examples of digital platforms that are tech dependent that you could be introducing. We'll look at the last part. Yes, Ms. Anki, we will talk about green jobs, but not today. Today is not the focus on that, but that is absolutely there in the upcoming days. So we look about AI for education. And here, the topic that I'm going to talk about AI is not about deep learning and machine learning. You must have known that, if not practically, theoretically, you must be knowing that there could be many sessions that are teaching you that, and nowadays any the basics of AI is just available with a click away on the internet. But today we're going to talk about another different topic under AI. But before I talk about that topic, I just wanted to take some examples of what are some AI based initiatives that you have seen or that you use. Just one or two that you use in your schools that are AI dependent, or maybe you're adopting and thinking about it. Anyone? Yeah, perfect. Simple example, ChatGPT, right? Unfortunately, I don't think many teachers are pro ChatGPT, and I'm with you. But in certain areas, at least not at a student level, but educators and trainers level, it does help to a certain extent. Water checking, yes. Smart boards, absolutely. I want to say examples that you're actually using, if at all. Okay, attendance system. Actually, interesting example. Thank you, Mangala, for that. I will use that attendance system example for the next topic, actually. I had saved it for that, but good that that came up. Virtual labs, yes. These are all some AI-based examples that, yes, schools these days are learning. Quiz creating app, very true. System generated wall, I'd like to know more about it. Uniform checker application, teacher collaboration app. Perfect. Yes, a lot of apps. But sometimes we think apps, I know you know this basic knowledge, but not every app is AI dependent. But yes, in that case, when it needs to coordinate between more than one network and suggest something that your device needs to know, it becomes AI dependent. Yeah, keep them coming if there are more apart from what others have shared. But today's topic that we're going to learn is about blockchain technology. How many of you have heard about this? Just you can raise your hands. You can be very honest that you haven't heard, because a couple of years back, I didn't know what about it. Even now, today, I just know it at a brief level to explain as a concept. I am not very well versed with it. Um, but yeah, just want to understand how many of you know what blockchain technology is. In fact, it's a good sign if many of you don't know. Not to worry at all. I am here to simplify it. but just in a brief concept. We're not going to deep dive, and you don't need to know the technical aspect of coding and all of that, but just a basic concept. It'll be interesting to learn something new, and that is why we're doing this course too. I'll be more happy if many of you don't know it. Okay, perfect. I'm assuming a lot don't know, which is a good sign. So let me use this opportunity in the next few minutes to simplify and introduce blockchain technology for you, which you would have heard. Right? So I would need your attention and I would need your answers here. So the three words that you see here is the basics of what you need to know about blockchain. So if you break it down, there is a block, there's a chain, as simple as that. And multiple blocks together make a chain. I'm getting technical, but mainly through a literal way of explaining it, right? And each block has three parts. These are the three parts that you see: the data, hash, and hash of previous block. Okay, so there is a picture to represent that as well. But before I show it to you, let me help you with applying these three things: data, hash, and hash of previous block, to three different things. Now, as teachers, I think the best example that we could use is the attendance ledger, right? At least now, when all of us were in school, we would have an attendance ledger that the class teacher would maintain. Yes, nice. Now there are, let's say, 20 classes, and each class needs to have an attendance ledger. So that means we have 20 attendance ledger books. So if the class teacher alone is maintaining that attendance ledger, okay. But what if the principal or the coordinator needs to check the attendance for all the 20 every day, let's say, to see what is the absentage percentage today, or what is the percentage of the students present? They have to manually look through it, right? Or somebody has to help. It's a scenario. So now let's say the data here in this one first word is the attendance ledger data, whether students are present or not. And hash is similar to the fingerprint. Hash does not represent anything in the attendance, but it is similar to a fingerprint. A fingerprint is used for us as an identity. Each of us have different fingerprint patterns, right? This we all know. So hash is like a fingerprint which gives identity to the data, right? And the third one, which is hash of a previous block, is nothing but that part connects to the previous block, which means that I said, right, multiple blocks together make a chain. So I know this block is connected to my previous block when it has the same hash. Understanding it? If it doesn't have the same hash, then it doesn't belong in this chain. So a single block will have one data. It will have a hash, which is like a fingerprint, and it will also have a hash, another print of the previous block. Only when it has a hash of the previous block, these two will join. And this should have the another hash of the next block, then these three will. Like that, whichever blocks have the same hash of the previous one, they keep joining. So if I need to join here, my previous one needs to have the same hash, only then I can get attached. So that is the concept of a hash. And there's another three parts that you need to know, and then I will give you a visual representation for you to understand it better. You also need to know what a block is, node is, consensus is, to understand the basics of blockchain. Now, what is a block is what I just explained through data, hash, and hash of previous block. That is a block, right? And multiple blocks make a chain. Now, go back to that attendance scenario where each class teacher is maintaining an attendance ledger, right? That single class teacher or that single source becomes a node, okay? And those 20 class teachers in that school who are maintaining it become a consensus. I will tell you why blockchain is important and why should we actually be learning it. But let's focus on the basics. So I hope that was clear, where I just explained what a block is, right? Data hash and hash of previous block. Multiple blocks make a chain. And that, just like how a class teacher is the source for one data, which is the attendance sheet or the ledger, that is a node. And where multiple nodes, like multiple class teachers, are maintaining it and being a source for data, they all become a consensus. I hope that basics is clear. Now, yes, someone was saying digital ledger. Absolutely. Digital, in fact, a maintenance of data where there are multiple digital ledgers maintained in the internet, where there are different sources verifying it as nodes, become a consensus, and that itself forms in the entire blockchain, right? Now, if you see this tiny pop-up, it stores information in batches called blocks like chains, right? And they're linked together in a sequential way to form a continuous line. And each block is like a page of the ledger. Remember, I said the data itself is the attendance book. So, how each page is there with the data in your attendance or the record book, each page is a block. And then the person maintaining or the source where these blocks are is a node, and the multiple sources are consensus. So sometimes if you see on the right side in the image, the consensus can be centralized where the source is only one way, where let's say, for example, classroom to the coordinator. But if it's a decentralized consensus, then maybe there are multiple sources and multiple classrooms or multiple class teachers coordinating the data, right? So that is the difference. So I hope the basic structure of the blockchain has been understood. Now, where is blockchain applied, right? Okay, we learned the basics, but why is it important? Where is it applied? So if you see, these are just examples, but these days in this blockchain has been existing for a long time already, but it has been booming a lot in a lot of fields all over the world. So the applications of it are in business, in transportation, in weather forecasting, especially disaster management, all of that. So I will show you two examples, and trying to look at that, I want you to give possible examples of where blockchain can be applied, right? On the right, if you see, this is from the first which category, which is the coffee farm. And I don't know any coffee lovers in the house or any chai lovers in the house. It just depends on my mood if I like chai or coffee. It really depends. I like both. But now for the coffee lovers especially, if you're trying to resource coffee that's exquisite and very nice from Colombia, and if you see in the bottom on the right under roasting, it's ready for consumption is the last image, right? In between, there are so many processes and categories happening. There's a purchasing point, there's dry mill, shipping. Under shipping, again, there are 5 steps. Do you see that? Transport to port, port, shipping, rail transport. Under dry mill, again, there are many steps. Forget that. Look at purchasing point. That has a lot of data, right? Transport to purchasing point, and then the purchasing and the quality check and the price check. Now, how, just imagine if each one is a node, right? I explain what a node is, or just imagine each one is a class, like a class teacher. Like, for example, under the second category, transport to purchasing point is a class teacher. They have to maintain data, right? And then the next one, let's say shipping, under shipping, transport, the port needs to maintain data, the shipping, the warehouse needs to maintain data. How are they coordinating this data here from shipping to all the way in Colombia? Through blockchains, where each one is maintaining data like a ledger, each one becomes a node, all of them become a consensus, a decentralized consensus or a centralized consensus, and that's how they add two blocks with the information given. So let's say if I'm at the shipping node and I give certain information, that information will be useful for the dry mill or others if it has the same hash. Remember, it is the information on the internet as data is present as blocks, but that block will form a chain when another node provides a block with same hash, then my node, which I am maintaining, I will also provide that block. And if they have the same hash, which is like a fingerprint identification, it is going to form a chain. Like that, from all the way from its sourcing, which from Colombia, is going to form a blockchain with data and information to be maintained until it's ready for consumption for all of us to use and see, right? And sometimes all of us also form a node where we might not be adding data, but the people who are selling it to us, let's say it is ending up in Starbucks, for example, or some cafe coffee day. Cafe coffee day is going to maintain that node where it's going to provide data for how many users are consuming this coffee. Do they like it? That is the data added to the blockchain at that point, right? Because at that stage or that node, that is relevant for them because they are the sellers. What is important for them? What kind of coffee is sold more? Is it sold more on weekends? Do they like the Colombia coffee or do they like the Chikmagalur coffee in Karnataka, right? Depends on all of that. Now, on the left side, if you see, this is an example of blockchain again when it comes to disaster management, right? And I think now that I've explained how it works, you will see that each of them is a node. right? And all of them together is a decentralized consensus. So now the shelter providers are maintaining data, the government is maintaining data, or food service providers, or NGOs maintaining data. All of them together, oops, all of them together have data. Then how are they coordinating with each other? It's not like it's not in this back in the day where they'll make a phone call and say if the NGO has enough food to provide for relief, right? And then they have to contact any transport. How do we take it? No, the blockchain. If you need to adopt and upgrade the speed and the efficiency of the action, then blockchain is a good method and a technology that has been booming a lot, where any field can be using it to process the data, right? So now that you've seen these two examples of blockchain, how can you give possible examples of where else this can be used? I know some of you have said supply chain management, which we've seen in coffee consumption, for example. But any other areas that you think this will be very useful? And good question, Ms. Ambika, and I will answer that. But just want to see now that you've understood the basics of it. Yes, medical field, very right, absolutely right. If you replace some nodes here in the disaster management on the left example, yes, medical field, the pharmacists, the doctors, the patients, the healthcare providers, services provided, the communities where all of this, ideally, if they're adopting to blockchain, not saying that is the only way, but it's an option that can be adopted to make the entire process easier, quicker, and efficient. But again, it should be economically, socially, and environmentally sustaining. Only then it will be good for companies. But big major companies do adopt on or do depend on blockchain to process their data right from the beginning to the end, right? We saw in even transport is a very major area where blockchain technology is used. So what are the advantages of blockchain technology, right? So it's transparent, where each node, each data, like each class teacher maintaining the attendance sheet knows what they're providing, and even another node or another class teacher will also understand that will be able to see this data. So that way, it's not like this class teacher is changing that absent rate to show that more people came. No, you can be, because like let's say manually, if you're maintaining a sheet, I can change the number of absentees and say that, ma'am, there is 100% attendance, right? There is a possibility to do that somehow. But in blockchain, because it's very data driven and it's very safe, nobody has access to change it, right? And then reduce transaction cost, faster transaction and settlement. Especially cryptocurrency is a major area where blockchain is being used. Cryptocurrency functions through blockchain. Yes, Uma ma'am has shared that example. It is open and accessible. It is distributed architecture, where we saw about how it's decentralized. There is security, it's worldwide. You can start nodes from everywhere as long as they have the same hash, which is like a fingerprint, remember. It will start identifying and forming a blockchain, and then you can get data from there too. And then there is security, because that's how it is coded well. And on the left, more broader advantages like high level of security with your data. There is transparency of where how each node is maintaining it, and it's immutability where nobody has extra access, where they can change things, and it enhances efficiency of major processes. And absolutely, accountability is one major important factor that blockchain has. An interesting advantage of blockchain is also mentioned here on the right side, where it is traceable. If you look at the coffee example, if I'm in the corner here on the right as a consumer ready for consumption, I can reach out to the node or the source and say that I want to see where this is coming from, how it is shipped, how it is purchased, how it is processed, if it is clean or whatever it is. Then I can always ask and depend on their blockchain to see the entire data of how it is processed. With just a click away, with just one link away, I can see the entire blockchain of how it is produced, all collected from Colombia to this. Is it ethical? Is it environmental? Is it social? Is it economically viable? I can check all of that through blockchain. But if it's maintained manually, are you going to ship all the papers to me to show how it is collected. Are you going to show me pictures of how people are doing things? No, it doesn't work this way, unfortunately, today. So you need data to find even the traceability of something. So I'm pretty sure even biggies like Amazon and all of them use blockchain to collect data from different sellers and buyers and all of that, right? So we just thought we'll introduce one new concept today instead of just talking about machine learning and deep learning. And I will still come to that question, Ms. Ambika. But before that, I want to just finish AI part. So this is the last part on AI, which just shows examples in different areas overall of how artificial intelligence is used in different areas under energy or marine life or clean air and weather conditions, right? I'm pretty sure these are all some examples that all of you would be using in your school. Take climate change, for example. AI is helping in getting clean power, smart transport options, sustainable production and consumption, and sustainable land use to construct smart cities and home, clean air as well, early warning signs of any bad weather conditions, even weather and disaster management. AI is helping there. In fact, blockchain also helps very well to provide that data. Each node or each class teacher will observe what are the changes happening, and then they will inform, and then the place where they need to collect data, they will assess it, and then they will give a warning. The blockchain helps there as well, right? And all of this, if you did not get it, I'm sure you got it, but it doesn't work without AI. Artificial intelligence needs to come in where it's assessing the data, learning from it constantly, and giving the desired results, right? So with that, we're mainly done with what we have for today. And I will quickly, in the last 10 minutes, take you through the home assignment, which is very important. So spare some time, and we can also spare some time for Q&A and close by 7:30, which is 90 minutes for each session. So yes, I had used that example, Miss Vani, that Amazon, Flipkart, all of them will be depending on blockchain, even for some stocks and currency method that they could be using, right? And now I'll come to Miss Ambika's question. So this is a very, how do I put it? Wait, I'm not finding that question, but it's okay. I'm pretty sure she had asked somewhere of how can this help in students? So no, it's not going to help students right now in terms of its application. Theoretically, they can learn because it's good that, let's say, oh, so and so school students know about blockchain also, which is not trending but very relevant in this time. So theoretically, they can learn. You don't need to allot time to teach this, but as and when you're teaching the relevant subjects and topics, you can use blockchain as an example and introduce that concept, because that way they're well versed with the current happenings. But eventually, as they move on to, let's say, after their high school, they can have their own initiatives or startups or get involved as consumers or any way to know about blockchain. And 18 below is also okay, but usually for a lot of things to have access and to do, you need to be an adult. But every adult, regardless of their job, be it their trainer or teachers or doctors, blockchain helps. And you know why? Because all of us are consumers. One thing we're all common is we're all consumers, right? We consume everything on a daily, so many things on a daily basis. But as a consumer, if we know how blockchain works, remember that advantage, traceability. You can always check the traceability, you can always check the sources, you can always check the nodes. Yes, a brilliant example, Ms. Shobna. It is farmer to dining table. If you apply that, where is this food coming from? You can depend on the blockchain. Like I said, I'm not very well versed behind the coding and what happens back end and how do they design the nodes, who does it, and all of that. But it's a basic intro to a new concept and an interesting one that is existing in the current world. But yes, if you want to check how your food is coming and are the farmers actually benefited, they say organic food, buy it from up, you're getting it from the farmers directly. But if they maintain a blockchain, then you can see if it is actually from the farmers and you can see as a consumer. So that way it is still beneficial for students or any individual, especially to learn about a relevant topic, but applying as an adult more in terms of the consumption of something, right? Okay. So with that, we're done with today's theoretical concepts. And it's important that if you can just be patient and spare the next 5 minutes. We'll be closing by 7:30 sharp. We have the second home assignment, which is where you'll be working on a tech-based project and prepare it to share it on day 3. So what I mean by that is you don't need to be sharing it on the next day, which is on 5th November, right? And I will just quickly also say what is the timeline for the next 2 sessions. But here's the first home assignment for today, where all of you individually, or if you want to team up, I guess that is also okay. But yes, I will be sharing the link. Please be patient with me. Yes, I will be sharing the first assignment as well. But since we're talking about tech here, I thought I'll continue and talk about this home assignment and then the second one. So don't be scared about, oh my God, I have 2 home assignments. Maybe it's revenge time as teachers because you always keep giving assignments. But the assignment mainly for today, the major assignment compared to the both is you need to come up with the concept of a tech-based project for your school. It'll be nice if it is not there yet, because a lot of teachers, there's a reason why I gave some time for group discussions. A lot of teachers said that you're using this and you're using that and adopting this initiative or doing this initiative or implementing it in your school. So try to introduce a new one. If your school doesn't have any tech-based interventions, with or without AI, it is okay. But if that is good, that way what do you think can your school have? Come up with an innovative tech-based project that you could be introducing. If your school already has one, then introduce a new one, right? Of what you think your school could be using. And a right way to do it is please have make sure that you have the needs, like you're showing why this is important and you're showing what is the solution and how is it going to help. And these 3 need to be covered, where what is the need of, so since this is the problem or this is the situation, this is the solution, and then this is how it's going to help and the potential results. So this can be in the form of a PPT, this can be in the form of a Word document, this can also be in the form of a PDF. So I have a form where you have to submit as an attachment. There, again, you will also have clear instructions as to what to be doing and how to be doing. So while I'm talking about it, let's also pull up that form where you will be working on that. And the assignment for day 1, remember yesterday, I know that a lot of teachers didn't join. I think 20 to 30 students were not there. From yesterday, today we have 73. But yesterday's assignment was to come up with an innovative, to share the existing initiatives that your school already has, right? So this is easy. A lot of you had shared in our group discussion some good, even as simple as how you have banned or discouraged students to bring lunch boxes, right? So even that is okay. So there are no points where it's not a competition. Oh, only if you get 100 on 100, you will get a certificate. It's not like that. We just want to see the knowledge shared and the perception of you understanding what is asked. And if you just do that, we at the end of the 4 sessions, we will be giving the certificate only on submission. The form has explained both home assignment 1 and also explains home assignment 2. But again, in simple, home assignment 1, just share the initiatives that you have in your school already. What it is, share with the relevant pictures and how does it help. Number 2, home assignment 2, introduce or conceptualize a new tech-based project, which is AI dependent or it's not. And then oh, I noticed that a lot of you are unable to open the link. I'll just share that. I'll just complete the directions for home assignment 2. Make sure that you're showing the need as to why this is necessary, introduce the solution for that, and just also explain how it's going to help. It can just be brief, like bulletin points. Please don't put essays. And there's a limit to how many pages also, which is very important. So please be mindful of that. Let me make sure that this is accessible. Anyway, meanwhile, any questions, anyone? I would request to unmute and because I'm on a different page, in case if anybody has questions, if you could please unmute and ask.
Hi, ma'am. This is Anki Garg. I wish to ask one question. This project has to be designed in a design thinking format, or it's general like the bulleted points or something?
Regarding which assignment, ma'am?
Like the project you have just mentioned, the assignment for that, how it has to be designed in a presentation form or which form?
Got it. It's mentioned there in the form also. I know I just gave access, and I was also telling that it can be a PPT, it can be a Word doc or a PDF. 3 are fine. All the 3, whichever is better for you to show and with the pictures and all. Can you please check now? I have given access. You should be able to open it. Can anyone confirm? Okay, it is accessible now. Thank you. Great. You can have a look. You can take 10 seconds. You can fill it now or after the session too, but the attachment can be given later once you have it ready. And since we're the next session, I'll be closing the session in a minute now, but I just want to quickly announce that the next 2 sessions will be on November 5th and 7th. And the reason why is we're giving a week in between off because you have Diwali and other engagements, which is completely understandable. So we want you all to submit it by 31st October before that. So before you hit off for Diwali, you can just submit it, but we will meet again in the session on 5th, right? And maybe the best submissions, we'll review it before 5th and we'll reach out to you if we want to see you present, or we can just take some glimpses of what you've submitted and show it in the best ones in the next session, right? Yes, ma'am, if you're from the same school, it is okay to have a group project. But make sure that you confirm that you're from the same school with the data given or with the data asked in the Google form. And you can please mention your name and your school even on the sheet. This is very important. Please mention your name and your school and the city even on the sheet, even on the attachment, right? Sorry, ma'am, but you need to be doing it before 31st. It's not much, just putting together 3 to 4 pages. The thing is, we also need time to evaluate it, right? Before 5th. See, and in fact, after the 31st is Diwali, and then you have the weekend, but we have to spend the time the next few days to actually evaluate this so that we're ready by
Ma'am, I
5th.
didn't get, sorry, ma'am, but I didn't get the assignment. I don't know where it is, how to access it.
Got it. It's in the, I've shared the form in the chat, ma'am. If you could just, I'll share it again, the link. I think it's lost between the text, the messages that teachers are sharing.
I think this is the one.
Let me pull it up again for you. Yeah. Yeah, I've shared it. It's clear in the form as to what you should be doing. Good point, Miss Raji, that you brought up. This can be a tricky situation where some teachers could be doing it only for the a certificate, which is fine. But if they're attending and doing it, then that's worth it. But without attending and doing it, it's not ideal because it's very easy to put an assignment and submit it and get a certificate, right? Without attending and learning it. But it's an unfortunate scenario. If they've missed only 1 day and all, it's okay. But if they've not joined all the 4 days but want to do an assignment and get a certificate, it is not fair. Even you wouldn't like it if a student is doing that, right? So please understand in that case. Yeah, that's about it. We're officially done. Please feel free to unmute and ask any questions. Otherwise, we'll close in a minute by 7:35. Okay. Looks like there are no questions, but thank you everyone. I hope day 2 was also enjoyable and knowledgeable. Again, I had a good time meeting you all. Good to see the same faces, but I hope we have more teachers joining in day 3 and 4 too. We will focus on further topics. We will be talking about green jobs, green school, green skills, and all of that in day 3 and 4. So have a good Diwali break. Have a good week ahead. And I will see you again after many days on 5th of November. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good night.
Right.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am. Good night.
Thank you,
Happy
ma'am.
Diwali. All the best, ma'am.
Thank you, everyone. Have a good time.